Welcome back to the AI Ripple Effect podcast, everybody. We are lucky enough to be joined today by Darren Twiselton, who's the Global Logistics Director at ZigZag Global. Darren, it is a pleasure to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you, Adrian. It's great to be here. Looking forward to it.
I'm very much looking forward to hearing everything about ZigZag Global and the stuff you guys do. But let's start by, if you could share with us a little bit about your journey to where you are today at ZigZag and your role as Global Logistics Director. And then tell us a little bit more about what the services you guys at ZigZag provide.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like most people, I fell into logistics. It was a job that I found myself doing and was like, I enjoy this, and stayed around. And my career really has been made. I've been really fortunate. I've been across most of the supply chain. I've worked lots of it in operations, so lots of high vis steel toe caps in-house operations with people like UK retailers, Pets at Home, Urban Outfitters in their UK distribution and supply chain, and third party. And I kind of worked my way through that operational piece, moved into fulfillment, and then 4 years ago moved across to ZigZag. So ZigZag we help retailers really with their returns and moving their e-commerce returns domestically, internationally. And that's kind of essentially by a combination of our logistics and software services. But I like to think we're a time giver. I think we're a time giver. We take complexity out of retailers and their supply chains and their challenges, and we give us as customers options. So if you want to return something, if we've done the right thing, we've put the right carrier solution so you can get on with your busy life, drop that return off, get your money back and continue. So it's really just, we work with predominantly fashion retailers. It's a huge part of returns, and from everything from SME up to really big enterprise businesses.
And I know you are based in the UK, but you guys are, the clues in the name, you're a global entity, right, that handle customers across various countries doing various supply chain returns, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we founded in the UK just over 10 years ago, nearly 11, but we now have offices in Bulgaria, Portugal, France, Spain. We have a warehouse in Germany, and we partner globally. I think we last year got returns from 170 different countries back to where they were going. So yeah, we have like 1,500 carrier services on our platform. So it's a really global offer where we can hopefully, I like to think, if you've got a return anywhere in the world, we can hopefully give you something that gets that return back to where it's got to go to. It's certainly my job, I guess, to make sure that's the case.
Fantastic. That sounds amazing. And obviously with that exposure across the globe, you must have great insights as to what's happening in the logistics market today. And it would be great to hear, if that's okay, Darren, your perspectives on those global trends in the market. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's quite commonplace, isn't it? For a while now, there's been just blow after blow at a macro level. There's been conflict, there's been fuel crisis, there's been tariff wars, there's been global pandemics, all of this stuff that's got thrown at us over the last kind of 5 to 6 years. And I think we're starting to see that in consumer behaviour. We're seeing it. There was some studies just of UK retail recently where that people have stopped shopping a little bit. I think we're becoming more cost conscious, and that disposable income maybe, that especially in returns is heavily driven by fashion. Fashion returns rates famously 30 to 40%. That's a global kind of number. It's not unique to the UK, and it's also sometimes a bit discretionary spend, isn't it? And I think we're seeing a slowdown. I think people are changing their behaviour now. I think for a while it was maybe reported but it hadn't been felt in day-to-day life, whereas it has now. So we're definitely seeing a slowdown, but I think we're also seeing a real increase in consumer expectation. I think they've never wanted more. Consumers are becoming more savvy. Every day, new tools, AI, give us sources to information that we never had before. And I think, therefore, consumers, they used to be able to go and buy a car and they relied on the car salesperson to be the expert, but now they can turn up informed. And it's the same in any commerce interaction, I think, but you can go into it informed now, and therefore we have to be constantly evolving what we're offering, how we're offering things, and just keeping up with the demands, really.
Right. And are you, I know a lot of our audience and also previous guests discuss the challenges of the varying trade dispute, well, not disputes, but the tariff escalation up and down, does that impact you guys as well?
Yeah, it does, and we're a little bit secondary, I would say. So when the tariffs change, because we're on a returns business, it's got to go out in the first place. So where the first hit you would see that is maybe from origin, obviously the sourcing, and then the e-commerce of buying it, and then when you come to return, that's when we start to feel that effect. So we've definitely seen a downturn. Certainly in the US, the volumes are down significantly. What we're seeing, US domestic, but also coming back out of the US, we've definitely seen that.
Right.
But also where it for us, one of the real impacts is retailers are as confused as the rest of us. So our ability to give clear information to help navigate and understand the impact. So with returns, you can get relief on a lot of returns. It's something that we as consumers were entitled to. But the complexity of that only goes one way when confusion comes into the tariff space. So yeah, I think it's impacted all of us. Duty drawback is a huge part of our sector at the moment, and we continue to find ways to try and support and unlock that. But every time you think you've discovered something else gets revealed, and it's like a treasure trove at the moment for us.
That's great. Thanks for sharing. And I guess you touched a few points already in that description of the global trends. But what have been some of the bigger hurdles that you guys at ZigZag have encountered, say, over the last 12, 24 months? And how have you got around those hurdles? What have been the lessons you've learned?
It's a really good question. And I think for us, the last 12 to 24 months, one of the biggest things we've seen is there's been some really macro level disruptions in carry as well. So Canada Post have gone on strike the last 2 years. We had disruption in UK return supply chains going into peak in 2023. We have just recently Fastway in Ireland have unfortunately gone into receivership. So these are really prominent carriers in their space, and they've had real disruption. So it's happened quite a lot really in the last few years. There's a lot of acquisition in the UK. So for us, how do we navigate through that? So that's where our carrier library comes into it. So we try to make sure we've got multiple options in countries. So when these things happen that you don't want to see, we don't want to see strikes, we don't want to see businesses going into receivership, of course not. But retailers and customers still need to be able to be in a place to support. And that's where we're able to, for us, it's about making sure we've got secondary options in all of our markets. So Canada Post goes on strike, retailers say we don't want to offer that right now, great, let's offer you an alternative. So we have other Canadian suppliers integrated in our software, for example, that we can switch in and out.
Right. Do you do any due diligence on developing that library? Do you look at those companies and say, okay, I'm going to hedge my bets. This one looks pretty strong. Is that how you go about that kind of stuff?
It's a little bit, yes. It's an interesting one for us. Our kind of carrier library is a fundamental lifeblood of what's made ZigZag successful. Our ability to support retailers by giving them options that are cost effective has been part of the driver of our success over the last decade. So what we will do is we're constantly looking at the market. We're constantly trying to understand what new services have been released. And then when they are released, just doing, like you said, that due diligence on what's their coverage. So a new carrier may pop up in the States, but they've only coverage of, say, 20% of major cities. And for us, then we just need to understand, is that an area where there's actual commerce? So does that coverage allow... So if they're in New York, great, because there's lots of shopping going on. So actually you could offer a New York only service, but that may not be the case if they're in different parts of the state. So for us, yeah, we're always looking and always trying to understand how do we stay ahead of the market, I guess, and bringing stuff on before consumers want it.
Have you been, I know certainly in the US this is a big issue, have you been impacted by any of the sort of escalation in fraud that seems to be prevalent a lot more these days than it used to be?
Yeah, interesting. We actually, it's something that we speak to our customers a lot, as in our retailers and merchants that we work with. And again, you talk about changes 2 years ago, fraud was maybe fourth or fifth on the list of things that were important. Now it's one or two. Yeah. So we're doing a lot in that space. We've launched a returns management system. So we have software that we can support grading and validation closer to the source. We're often looking at how we can just partner with, for example, no box, no label suppliers. So the customer has to take it to a human and hand it over, who then do the package. And that mitigates the ability to maybe put a bag of sand in a box or manipulate a label, because they don't have it. They have to hand the product over. There's a great happy returns in the US, for example, are really proud of how they mitigate fraud because of it's a no box, no label. So the consumer has to hand it over to another human to get that process moving.
Yeah, true. And I guess, I mean, it sounds like you got your operational processes pretty tight. But if you were able, hypothetically, to go back and change something, would there be one thing that you would change, Darren, in the way you've set the operations up?
I think so, yeah. I think when you scale, our business has been fortunate. I say I've been there for 4 years now. We're double-digit growth every single year, and with that comes urgency and pace to deliver. It's a good challenge to have. But I think when you look back, what we missed the opportunity in certain areas is we weren't quick enough to have documented processes. Maybe a lot of it lived on the expertise and the great people in the business. And I think when you look at a business that scales to the point we have, where we're 3, 4, 5 times bigger than we were not many years ago, you notice that you have little black boxes dotted around. And if I was to change anything, it would be to early on put in better documented processes that allow us to manipulate and evolve as things come along, as opposed to maybe having to go back to basics, remind ourselves why we do it the way we do it, and then adjust it accordingly.
Got it. That's a great perspective and well understood. So you've been on this journey, you've got your operational processes really tight, you've learned your lessons along the way, it makes you a better business. What is the future looking like for ZigZag? What are your key milestones, both geographically, service-wise? What have you guys got planned?
A lot is probably the best way to put it. But really for us, we've invested heavily in acquisition in the post-purchase space. So that is like before the return's initiated. So supporting with that moment that you get your order on its way to you in the first place, and how we can save the sale in that space. We also continue to launch, kind of diversifying our market. We've been a predominantly UK-based business for a long time. We've recently, just actually a couple of weeks ago, launched in Spain. So we've now got a standalone Spain operation that is scaling, and we've got further expansion plans internationally for that. So for us, it's definitely about investing in post-purchase and continuing to involve in that space, and diversifying the countries that we're prominent in. And luckily we've got a great, we're based on good software and solid logistics that we can manipulate them to the markets they need to go into quite seamlessly, which is I think what's coming next for us.
Okay. I mean, it sounds as though you both got your operational foundation ready to help springboard you into that growth phase. I guess what would be interesting, Darren, is to hear your views on artificial intelligence broadly in the market, but also how you envisage it helping you solidify your core foundation and then help you to grow over your next 12 to 24 months or so.
Yeah. Look, I think from the moment that AI became into the mainstream, everybody who'd been around it for a while, and I wasn't one of them, will go, AI's been around for years. It's now just in your conscience because of ChatGPT. And I came to the premise quite early that at some point in time, the abacus salesperson went out of business because somebody invented the calculator. That's just evolution, right? It just happens. New technologies come, they disrupt, and society figures this out. So I think for me, we're at that point. There's a lot for me, and I think personally, I've realised how AI illiterate I am. So one of my primary focuses is I need to get AI literate, because it's the quality of the data you put into it will impact the quality that comes out of it. So I think that's just my personal view of AI. It's a great thing. It's a great disruptor of industry and of especially the logistics space. There's so many things that are very complex when you get into customs clearance, managing tariffs, commodity codes, just general operational planning and efficiencies, all that stuff that requires a lot of human instinct. Allowing that to be controlled by a machine, for me, I think will be profound, because it frees the great minds up that could figure that out to really add the real influence. So I think AI for me is a really positive thing. It's I think the key is people have got a lot of bad data underlying it, and we've got to go a long way to rename all of our kind of conventions in the back end. So when AI goes looking for the information, these large language models, the right reference points are there to get the prompt to go get the right thing. That for me is super important, and I really look forward to the day where you're running a supply and it's predicted that in 4 months' time there's going to be a heat wave, so it starts the order for the disposable barbecues now because they're on a lead time of 6 weeks, and with confidence we can start predicting these really huge things. But I think that's the reality of where it goes, right? It moves to a world where the guessing of things and the inefficiencies that come with that, the amount of stuff that gets moved and then maybe sits in the back of a warehouse, and the impact that has on the kind of climate and all the stuff that comes with this industry. I think AI will really help us tidy all that up, in my view.
No, I agree. I mean, that's a very insightful perspective, and I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think that is clearly the direction of travel. So, listen, it sounds as though you're really operating a tight ship and you're poised for growth, and your views on artificial intelligence, I'm sure, will help you accelerate that process. But for the guys and girls out there watching who are interested to find more out about ZigZag, Darren, where can they get that information?
Usual places. We're prominent on LinkedIn, so ZigZag Global. You can find me on there as well. There's a good route in. Our website, zigzag.global. They're probably the key areas, but we do lots of stuff in the press as well. So you can often, if you just go and search us, you'll be able to find some great articles we've done alongside people like Retail Economics on consumer behaviours and returns reasons.
Fantastic. Well, I'll make sure that we include all of those links into the podcast when we release it, so everybody out there, all the folks watching and listening, can find out much more. Darren, it has been a pleasure having you on this podcast. We'll see everybody else in the next episode, but for now, Darren Twiselton at ZigZag Global, thank you so much for sharing your insights and time.
Thank you, Adrian. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodbye.